What's up, everybody, and welcome to PPR podcast number 73. As always, I'm Chase Isidoro, and I'll be flying solo on this one. Podcast will be coming out just a little bit later than usual today. As for those you could see on YouTube, I am in my USA soccer attire. I was at the watch party for the USA game today as they drew against Wales. So apologies if you were expecting the podcast just a little bit sooner. But we're going to go ahead anyways. We'll do a little bit of review of the semifinal matchups from this past weekend, but really it'll be mostly a preview of the championship games. But first off, we need to congratulate some teams that are already walked away with the CIF title. And let's start with D6. Victory Christian win over St. Joseph's, 39-12. They got that win up at Escondido High School. And really a dominating performance from the Knights. Tukey Davis, quarterback, had 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing, and 1 going to Derek Edmond, who had an incredible interception as well. Just an all-out great performance. And, you know, they got all the way to the final last season, and then they were able to go undefeated this season and then win it. You know, got to show the 8-man guys love. And, you know, they walk away with the CIF title, and all those seniors should feel very proud of themselves. The guys at St. Joseph's, they played a great game as well. But honestly, hats off to Victory Christian. But now we go to the game that everyone was looking forward to watching at Snapdragon. Lincoln with their comeback victory, 28-24 over Carlsbad. Really just an incredible performance by the Hornets. And, you know, hats off to Carlsbad. You know, nothing to hang your heads about. Obviously, that's a tough way to lose with a fourth quarter comeback. You know, it was 21-6 at one point, and we were sitting here in studio watching it going, okay, it looks like Carlsbad's going to walk away with this. But then a huge play to Makai Gray on a huge touchdown. Obviously, we saw the game-winning touchdown by Corey Thompson-Miller as well. And it's really, that's such a huge moment for Lincoln to see that they never give up and that they didn't give up and kept fighting all the way down to the end and getting the win, especially in a game where Roderick Robinson, you know, didn't look 100%. And he didn't look like his old self, and they weren't going to be able to rely on him, to lean on him the way they have in the past. And I thought that KJ Chatham played a phenomenal game, stepping up in that big moment with the wide receiver weapons that we constantly talk about. They're not just Roderick Robinson. There's so many guys on that team that put them where they are and now have them going to the state playoffs. So hats off to them. DJ Peavy had a phenomenal day rushing the passer as well. So the Hornets walk away as open division champs. And really, I've been saying it since I believe they beat Mater Dei. I thought they were the #1 team in this county. I've kept them there for that reason. They are so well-rounded, and now we get to see what they can do at that level against some very tough state competition coming up. But now we preview some of the teams from that are going to be going for their CIF titles this weekend. We start with D1, Mater Dei versus Mission Hills. This Mater Dei team, they started off as, you know, everyone was saying, well, can they play to this level? Going from D3 to D1, losing all those big games early, and now coming back with a vengeance and a huge win at Manchester Field, beating my Dons on a last play interception by DJ Overstreet. I talked to Nick James, who was filming that game. He said the person that made the biggest impact for him was Anthony McMillan and the way he was able to run the ball. Really a player who gets overlooked so much because we constantly talk about Dominic Nankhill and the weapons that he has on offense as well in their pass game. But he said McMillan was incredible and was a huge piece to how they won that game. I expect more from them against Mission Hills. Mission Hills is a tough team. They're big up front, so might be tough for them to run the ball again, but I think this Mater Dei team is on a mission. Now, got to talk about Mission Hills. Really, Keaton Smith has stepped up to the table these last couple of weeks. He's been a phenomenal playing at quarterback. We all know about Santiago Salas as well. Henry Davis has been incredible for them. Lucas Scott had a 2-touchdown performance. I have no idea how this D1 final is going to go because I think these two teams match up so well. I'm not sure if it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think it'll be a low-scoring one. We might see a 17-14 type of game here. If I had to lean one way, I think I might go Mater Dei. But this Mission Hills team has proven me wrong time and time again. I didn't expect them to get this far. I personally chose Poway to go in over them, not because they were undefeated, but because I thought Poway was the better team overall. And Mission Hills has done everything. They beat a great El Camino team that beat Helix. You know, this Mission Hills team is up for the challenge, and they have all the pieces on offense and defense to walk away as the D1 champions. We will actually be talking more about that in PPR podcast number 74 when Paul and Bert sit down with Coach Hauser. He'll be the guest on the next podcast. So really, that D1 matchup, to me, might be the greatest game on the slate. Maybe D5, we'll get to that in a little bit, but this one's going to be a phenomenal heavyweight title fight, in my opinion. We go on to D2 now, Granite Hills versus Ramona. Another team that, to be quite honest, I haven't felt like I've disrespected, but I haven't been picking them, and that's Ramona. They keep overcoming all the obstacles put in their path. A phenomenal defense, especially in the passing game. Their pass coverage with Aslan Enriquez has been phenomenal. Kyle Wolford and Jamil Kassab, they keep getting interceptions that turn the tide and make it so much easier for their offense to go down the field and score. But I'm not so sure that anybody's stopping this Granite Hills team. They have been on a mission. They seem like a team of destiny type. And it's every single week there's a new kid. Every single week there's someone new who are calling their name. They are that deep. They have that many great players. We saw Isaiah Jackson with 2 touchdowns. We know about Parlin Sanders, Nico Tomasello, Joaquin Thomas. They're so good and so well-rounded of a team. I'm not so sure anyone's stopping the Eagles in the way they've been playing. Ramona's got a shot because they keep shutting down a lot of these teams, a lot of these high-scoring teams as well. So, Granite Hills has to be ready. But the way I see it, I probably had the Eagles winning this one as the D2 champions. Then we go to D3, a huge rematch. 2 teams that we've been talking about the City League. They really stood out as the biggest ones. And we talked about D3. They've been standing out as the biggest ones. That's University City and Point Loma. Last game was 13-7 win for University City. The X factor in that game really was 2 X factors. It was LaDainian Lawrence and Drayden Gardner. And Drayden Gardner has been the X factor these last couple of weeks when it comes to University City. I expect more from him. He has a great play, game-winning touchdown this last final week to beat Bishops in that rematch. This Point Loma team, though, you have to account for their defense. Their defense has been phenomenal. They keep making big plays when it comes to interceptions and turnovers. And then you look at their running game as well. We look at Turbeville, who had a great touchdown run this previous week. I believe 2 touchdown runs as well. And you have to look at Chase Lowry as their big impact player. But they go much deeper than that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be another low-scoring game, maybe another 13-7 or 13-10 game. I have no idea where it's going to go. Maybe the Pointers get the rematch that they always wanted and they get the revenge. But this UC team, you got to remember, they went to the finals last year and lost to a very good Patrick Henry team. They still have that chip on their shoulder as well. I might be leaning towards UC to getting it done and the Centurions coming out on top, but do not count out the Dogs. Now, we move on to D4. Another huge rematch from last year's semifinal in D5, which was a crazy 29-28 win for Palo Verde over Fallbrook. We now get that game again for the D4 final. And really, it says so much about where these 2 teams have gone over this last year. Coming up from D5, going to D4, accepting that new challenge and everything that comes with it, and then going all the way to the final for both of them. And it comes down to running the ball. We know about Marcus Macon. He had another great performance this previous week. And Alan Leon and Chris Bosch have both been phenomenal these last couple of weeks for Fallbrook. I think they're both going to run the ball almost every single play because they're both so efficient at running the ball on every single play. This game might be over in an hour. I believe Bo Furteg and Nick James will be at the game, so I know they're probably looking forward to having a quick one. But it's really going to be just a hard-nosed football game. I expect another close affair, probably 21-20, maybe 27-28. We get another final score just like last year. I might be leaning towards more Palo Verde. You got to think of what Palo Verde has done. With them being, I believe, the 7 seed, they've had to travel out to these schools every single week. They've had to go from Blythe to La Jolla, Blythe to Coronado, now Blythe to not Fallbrook. They'll be going to, I believe, Escondido, or it'll be at Southwestern. I'm not quite sure where they'll be playing. But it's such a huge thing for them to go that whole way every single week to take their kids, their families, every single week to go all the way out there. And last year we saw them when they played Mission Bay. They showed up with more fans than Mission Bay did. They are dedicated to this football team, and hats off to them. And I think that is something that is going to propel them to the victory in this D4 final. But you can't sleep on Fallbrook. This Fallbrook team has been phenomenal as well. But we go to D5, and personally, this might be my favorite matchup of the entire CIF title games this coming weekend. Crawford versus Classical. I've been high on this Crawford team this whole season. Everybody knows that. They are phenomenal on both sides of the ball. We talked about Army-Navy's defense and how incredible they are and how hard it is to score in them and how Mar Vista was able to put up so many points on them was shocking. Well, it's also shocking that Crawford was able to hold Mar Vista to 7 points with 3 interceptions against Alex Wojcik. It's a great offense, and for them to do that really stood out to me because we always see Crawford, put up big scores, and it might be against teams that probably the matchup's not quite there for them. The matchup's not exactly in the favor to take on a Crawford team. But I thought with them playing Mar Vista, this is going to be a real test to see where Crawford stands. And they lived up to it and more. And I think Crawford really has the edge going into this final. I believe it's kind of like the same thing I was talking about earlier, Team of Destiny, just how it feels with them. I feel like the way they've been going all season, it's going to be hard to stop them. But this classical team, you can't sleep on them. You know, Life Pollard, Friday Pollard, and Luke Sega have been playing out of their minds these last couple of weeks, especially on their running game, especially Life Pollard. He had a phenomenal game. He was up for top performer this previous week. I think this classical team has something to prove, and I think they can play with this Crawford team. At the end of the day, though, I have the Colts coming out as champions. Matt Marquez, another victory chain. Who knows if you might upgrade that victory chain to something else, but that's the way I have it going. I have Mater Dei winning D1, Granite Hills winning D2, UC winning D3, Palo Verde winning D4, and Crawford taking D5 for our champions for this year in 2022, and then probably moving on to the state title. I believe all those teams would be capable of making a run for a state title for their respective divisions as well. Well, that's going to do it for us here today for PPR podcast number 73. Tune in tomorrow for 74 with Chris Hauser, Mission Hills head coach.